doing? Great. It's awesome. I'm Kaira Villanueva, and I'm a software engineer intern at AgriList. AgriList is a startup that focuses on indoor farmers, so we're basically aggregating their data and creating predictive models for better yields. I'm also a research assistant at the Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory, where I'm creating a database for their seeds. That laboratory focuses on climate change and extracting cores. And I'm a computer science major at Columbia University. So today I'll be talking about web scraping using Scrapy. So basically, what is web scraping? Web scraping is a technique to extract information from the websites, and it's usually translating unstructured data into structured data. So unstructured data would be in the form of HTML, and then turning that into structured data set, which can be later used and saved in spreadsheets or databases. Some examples of web scraping, people have probably done this before, is just physically copying and pasting anything from the web, like from Wikipedia page, like right-click, copy and paste. You can use like Unix grep with regular expressions. That's one way to copy stuff from the web. Other way to copy things is through using Scrapy, that software, or you can use computer web visual analyzers. So these are just some examples of what web scraping can actually do. So like, let's say that you're looking for a video game, or you want to get like the best bang out of your buck. So I like horror games, so it'll behoove me if I go to GameSpot, IGN, etc., all these like game websites, and kind of like add that in Scrapy and kind of like extract all the prices from there. And I can create my own like little application that gives me like the best price for that, instead of like, you know, browsing through Steam sales. Or you can even go through Steam and add that into their website and like aggregate all that prices in. What are data for the week? Let's say that you're researching climate, or your variable requires like climate, and you don't have any sensors. So you can pinpoint the coordinates for that specific region and grab data from that using NOAA, National Ocean Atmospheric Association, where they have a bunch of like data sets for data. And for today, we'll be going through a list of conifers. So we're extracting just pine trees, just like a simple table. This is like just like straight up HTML. For installing Scrapy, there are a couple of requirements that you need. So it's currently unstable with Python 3. It's very stable with Python 2.7. With Python comes pip. LXML comes with most Linux distribution. And OpenSSL comes with most software systems except Windows. So once you have all of this, then you can move forward with like installing Scrapy. This, you can just like open up your terminal, install Scrapy. So I'm going to go to my terminal. I already have Scrapy installed, as you can tell. It'll just show a bunch of commands. It's already running in my computer. So before we get to scraping, what exactly is Scrapy? So verbatimly, like word for word from like the Scrapy document, because I guess they worded it like pretty well. Scrapy is an application framework for crawling website and extracting structured data, which can be used for a wide range of useful applications, like data mining, information processing, or historical archival. You can find out more through scrapy.org. And if you want to see a list of global commands that Scrapy have, you can type up in your terminal this. So let's say I want to know what start project is or what it does. I can just say Scrapy start project .-h. So it will give you what it does. This is how you're going to start a Scrapy project, Scrapy start project, and your project name. You can add whatever project name, but it'll be good if it's like relevant to what you're doing. And then it tells you what it does, create new project, and these are other things that you can do with it. So yeah, this is basically just like the structure of Scrapy. So like the first is like the root folder. That's where we're going to be running your crawl bots. You have your configurations, and then you have like the folder where your items are, your field items are there. If you want to configure your bot further, you go to settings.py, and the rest of your spiders are located in your spiders folder. So let's build a bot. Okay, thank you. Okay, so, all right, so we're gonna build the bot now. So go to whichever directory you feel comfortable in. I'm just gonna go on my desktop. And to start a project, you basically say Scrapy, start project. I'm gonna title it conifers, because we're gonna be scraping conifers or pine trees. So right here, it's telling me, okay, great, you have your Scrapy project started. You can CD into your conifers or your Scrapy project and start creating your bot. So I have Sublime I use Sublime, so I'm just gonna use Sublime to open up that. All right, so now I'm given this whole like file of with like a bunch of repos. So what you want to look at is the spiders folder that it comes with. So I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to save that as conifers spider.py. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to clone the web page for the list of plants. So the list of plants is right here. So this is what I want. So this is what I'm going to be scraping. Basically, all like the genus and species and the common names of like the conifers, like all of these stuff. Like one thing about this is that I guess like one awesome thing about like scraping is that once you have like a lot of information or a lot of things, instead of like I could copy and paste all of this, but like what if like this kept scrolling all the way down to the bottom, or it's just endless. That's where scraping really comes in handy, because you have a lot of this data that you can just say, hey, I want all of these plants. So I'm going to import Scrapy. Then I'm going to create a class called conifers spider. I'm going to name my bot conifers, and then the allowed domain for that is, I believe it's great plant pics. I'm just going to copy this. Okay, so that's where like the source domain will be, and then my start URLs, you can add as much start URL as you want. But since we're only working with one web page, I'm going to only add this one. So right now, we're basically cloning this whole HTML page. All right. I'm going to create a function called parse, pass in self and response. And then for here, I'm going to create a file name. And I'm just basically saying that like I want this thing right here, this file name. Well, let's split. I'm going to split that based on the backslashes. I only want by plant type. Then we're going to add an extension file called .html. You want to open that file. So file name, and then we want to write to it. And then write to it as response.body. So what this does is it basically clones the web page. This clones the web page. So if I go back to my terminal and I change the directory into the root directory, and I say Scrapy crawl conifers. Spider is not defined. Conifers. Nothing responds. All right, I'm just going to reference my thing here. Oh, yeah. Oh, right. Yes. Sorry. So you have all of this. So it basically copied the whole web page. And then I can look that up, open this up, and that's basically it. You have like the whole web page right there. So that clones the whole web page. Now, if you want to start looking into, let's say that like I want to take in all of this data, so like what like the definition of web scraping before is like it's one thing to like clone the whole web page, but what if you just like want that raw data, right? So you want to look at the fields. So I'm gonna create fields here. So I want the common name. So Scrapy, that field. And I want the genus. And I also want the species. So this is just creating fields properties for like our conifer items. So we go back to the conifers here, comment that out, save that, and I'm just gonna create like the same function, same name. And then for every item in this table, I'm gonna create a conifer item with the properties of genus, species, and their common names. So for cell in response.xpath, so it's using XHTML to grab like the data from it. It's like, so one thing to do this is like you really have to look at or like be really specific about what you're extracting. So let's say that this is the body. So like this is where I'm starting. I'm starting at the body of like this table. So it's tbody. And then we want all the rows. So that's all the rows. Then from there, I can say items equals conifers dot items. But first, we have to go back here and import the conifers item. So from conifers dot items, import conifers item. So it is importing this right here. Okay, cool. All right, so now that we have that, so it's basically just gonna loop around in this body and like extract all of this. So we're gonna first look at the name. So select that XPath. I'm just gonna put this here. Okay. All right, so if we want the name, so we're gonna look at the name right here. You can see that it has, it's basically a column with a class of common names, so you want to add that into your XPath. That's class equals common name. Right, so it doesn't stop there because we don't have the text yet. So this one right here, so basically like the A link has the text. So we have to say A, and then Scrapy, if you say dash text, it will extract the text from that A link. So that's the name right there. And then if we want the genus, we do the same thing. You just have to like reference the web page that you're looking at and keep looking through it. So it's a column with a class called plant name. So when you're like referencing classes or IDs, you have to use this with the brackets. And within that, it's like the column has like stuff nested inside it. So like we can't get to, so like you go here. So this has the class plant name, and then below that you have like an A link. So inside the A link you have like another span class called Avis, or Avis is the content, and then the class name is genus. So you have to extract that. So we have an A link and then a span, and then the span has a class called genus. Yep, inside that you can extract that. Cool. I'm just gonna copy and paste this. It's the same thing. I think the species, the only, yep. So like they're within like the same like level. So I can just like change genus to species. DD class name, span, class name. All right, cool. I'm just gonna make sure it's correct. Okay, awesome. All right, so once you have all the stuff that you want to extract, or specifically the context or the text, you can yield the item. All right, so extract name, genus, species, directly. Okay, cool. So I'm saving that. All right, I have confers. Okay, cool. All right, I'm gonna go back to my terminal. In the root directory again. Okay. Crawl. I'm gonna tell them to Scrapy crawl confers. That's the name of your bot. -o is basically turning that data and asking it for a file. So if you want to turn something into a file, so let's say I'm gonna grab this and I want it as a JSON file. Right, so sometimes like the items you'd have to Sublime kind of like gives me errors, so I have to type it again, indentation problems. Okay. All right, so when you get like a blank screen, sometimes like you have to look into the way you're writing like the XPath, because like all the stuff that you're looking into that can like create for a bunch of errors. So I'm like right here, let's see. I'm gonna like look back and check. Okay, that's common name, and then that's a that extract. Yeah, okay. So the @ sign goes inside. Okay, cool. So now you have all of that there. So that's one way of like extracting information that you have. So this is basically a whole JSON file of the stuff that I've just like extracted. Then you can use this for your application, etc. Let's say I want that in a CSV file. I can do the same thing. Scrapy crawl conifers o, so trees csv.csv. And then it will show up in your root folder, and there you go. Like I have all of like the genus of each of the stuff, the name, and then the species of the conifer plants. All of this stuff is available online. Yeah, thank you.